Curb Servers, The Tale of Lil Wino, Episode 2. Little Wino moved to the block at a very early age, as we did all. But the difference with Little Wino mother moved off the block probably by like the third grade. But he had other family members that lived on the block. So for whatever reason, he didn't want to move to Compton with his mother. So he stayed on the block and he lived with his auntie. He kind of grew up on the block with us. Although he would go to his mother's house for the summer or, for spring break or, for the weekend, whenever he wanted to tell you the truth. How do I know? Because I would go with him lots of times. Lots of times he'd be like, hey, I'm finna go to my mama's house for a couple of weeks, or I'm finna go to my mama's house for a month. You want to go? Yeah, I want to go. Because they lived all over Compton. Most of the time, they stayed on I remember they stayed on 117th and Mona, on 118th and Mona, on 119th, on 120th and Willowbrook. Yeah, they stayed all through there. Most of the time, they stayed on 118th, across the street from this man, Mr. Jack. I remember his name was Mr. Jack, yeah, because he had horses. Little Wino mother stayed, on all those little blocks. But I remember one time, he went to go stay with his mother for like a week, and I went with him. And at this time, they were staying on 117th, and right before you get to Willowbrook. And back then, there was like 116th, and it might have been 115th, but it was 116th because there was a little store back there in the cut where you can get little hot dogs and, well, anyway. Now, it's just a metro station. She stayed on 117th, and we went to the neighbor's house. They all went to hang out in the morning, and the neighbor had some young kids like us, like two little kids like us. And so we all, playing in the morning, watching TV, eating some cereal or whatever we're doing. Back in those days, when you got your county check, in that part of Watts or Compton, depends on how you look at it, because technically 117th is Watts. Most of the time, she stayed on 118th, which we would consider Compton. Let's stay out of the technicalities. She was on 117th in Willowbrook at this time, between Mona and Willowbrook on 117th. We went to the neighbor's house, and back then, the drug of choice was PCP. Yeah, Sherm. Now, there was no rocks back then. There was no crack. No, this is pre-crack. This is when PCP was a dominant drug that was dominating through the ghetto parts of the black families. Back then, when you got your county check, the mailman in that part ran very early. I'm talking about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're dropping off them checks and they gone. And everybody's cashing them early, and everybody's making moves early in the morning. This morning was a hustle and bustle morning. There was a lot going on. And we all just sitting there watching TV, about 4 of us kids. And this old lady came out. She was wet. For y'all that don't know, that means you high off PCP. She had this hanger, and she was trying to unravel the hanger. And she kept saying, witchery, witchery. And she was trying to unravel the hanger some more. Witchery, witchery. And we all looking at each other like, the hell is she talking about? As she's looking at us, she's trying to unravel the hanger, and now she got the hanger unraveled. And she just got one long metal wire. And she's like, witchery. And she's pointing to us. And she's making a metal wire. She's making like a noose, like a bow, like a circle. She's making a circle. At this point, some of the adults are coming from the back. And of course, they aggressively escort her out there without getting into how they grabbed her up, pushed her out of there. But she had the wire, and she was about to try to wrap it around one of our necks because she was yelling, witchery, witchery. So she thought one of us was embodied with some type of witchery. And there was only 4 kids in there. So they ushered her out of there. So, of course, we little kids. We looking at each other. Of course, what do? We start looking at each other saying, witchery, witchery, right? Witchery, witchery. That's what we were saying to each other. Next thing you know, little Wino mama came out. She was like, come on, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. She stayed all through Compton, but most of the time she stayed on 118th. We would go over there too for the summer sometime. Let me tell you about little Wino's mom. Little Wino's mom is one of my favorite aunties ever. Let me tell you why she's in the Hall of Fame of aunties. See, if it's not for Little Wino's mom, a lot of us don't have no childhood as far as the big memories, like the amusement parts. See, like I said last episode, if you was paying attention, my Aunt Mary, she was famous for taking us everywhere. She took us everywhere. I'm talking about to the beach. We went to the beach on a regular. We lived at the beach. But we went to Knox Berry Farm, Magic Mountain, Disneyland, and I ain't talking about once a year. I'm talking about all the time. It was nothing further to say, hey, pack up. Let's go, everybody. You. Jump in the car. We about to roll to SeaWorld. Yeah, we about to roll to Knox Berry Farm. Oh, yeah, it's nothing. Come on, we about to go to Hollywood and walk around and get something to eat. My Aunt Mary, she is one of the most famous aunts in the curve serving universe. Yeah, I mean, like every other black household, her household had its problems. Whose didn't? Wait till we unfold this curve serving universe. But Little Wino's mom, oh, now she knew how to make sure we had a childhood. She took us to, listen, we used to go to the beach 10 o'clock at night. Come on, let's go. We're going to the beach at night. What? Everybody grab stuff. It's hot. We all go to the beach. She out there barbecuing, making sandwiches late at night. Yeah. Maze will go. I will go. Sometimes Skeeter will go. Depends on the parents because all the parents wasn't the same. Some parents didn't let their children, out running around. But my mom and Little Wino mom was thick as thieves. So I can go anywhere with Little Wino, and so could Maze. Maze can go anywhere with Little Wino. And so could Danny Boy. A lot of us, we was always running around with Little Wino and Little Wino's family because he had a big family. And a lot of his family, we knew, we was really close to a lot of his family. We would go to Knox Berry Farm, Magic Mountain. We'd get there when it opened up, take a break in the afternoon, go back to the parking lot. She'll feed us all in the parking lot. Sandwiches, chips, tacos. Yeah, tacos right there in the parking lot. Hook us on up, feed us. We go on back inside and we'll stay there till it closed down. Yeah, we'll close it down. Wherever we went, we shut it down. My Aunt Mary did not play. She was one of the top aunties on the block. And that's why Little Wino was very spoiled. See, this is part of the problem with Little Wino. It wasn't that he just didn't give a fuck. Little Wino was very spoiled. Yeah, because not only did he have a mom with a job that was like very family orientated, he had a step pops that was also very family orientated as far as like he believed in every payday. Let me tell you what my uncle would do. Little Wino step pops. Now, him and my aunt, they broke up very early. He still came through every payday. Yeah, he stopped living with my auntie probably like in the third grade. Yeah, when she moved to Compton. He went on and started his own life somewhere. But he never got out of Little Wino's life, right? He always came through every Friday religiously. He come through every payday and break off Little Wino some money, break off Auntie some money. He'll break all of us off some money. All of us that, that was always around, that he considered his family, his nephews that he inherited. Yeah, he break us all off a little $5. Of course, he gonna get them, $50 or something, $40, but he gonna break us off something too. Yeah, he gonna make sure we have some money in our pocket. And back then, this was big money. Little Wino was very spoiled. You know what I mean? Considered that we was living in the ghetto, in the gutters. He was living kind of ghetto fabulous. Yeah, he had two parents with incomes that could afford to spoil him. Now, for whatever reason, Little Wino just had one of those attitudes where he didn't give a fuck. He's always been that way. Little Wino didn't grow up directly underneath his mom for big portions of his childhood because he was growing up with his auntie. I forget which one. I think little Wino mom is the older sister, and she was the younger sister. He stayed with his auntie, but she was there every day. It's hard to explain. I'm Mary was there every day. Little Wino had it really good also in another aspect. Because he didn't directly live with his mother and he just went over there whenever he wanted to, he stayed with his auntie, right? And his auntie and his mom was super tight. So his auntie had full authority over him. I mean, she can beat his ass, do whatever. His mama not gonna say nothing. So they were super tight. They was a very tight family, I will say that. There was a very loving family and opening family if you was part of their family, as I was. Little Wino was very spoiled because his auntie spoiled him a lot, and he had a mother with income and a stepfather that raised him like his own. So he was always financially spoiled. And his auntie spoiled the shit out of him, right? Who he lived with. So he was spoiled a lot. And that was part of his character what made him kind of bad also. Because he couldn't do no wrong. Because he was always getting fucking spoiled. Outside of that, he got to live in like two different places sometimes. Sometimes he would live on a block, sometimes he would live in Compton. And when he lived in Compton, man, I would be over there with him most of the time. When we lived with his mom, oh, we traveling all over the place. We're going to Hollywood, we're going out to eat over here, we're going out to the movies, to the drive-in, we're going to watch E.T. I don't care what the movie is. We're going to the drive-in. She finna make some tacos. We about to all put the chairs out. We about to have a good time. Like, there was no events that my Aunt Mary didn't believe we had the right to attend. Don't get it twisted. We grew up in the gutters, but we didn't grow up bored. Nah, little Wino mama, she had us on point. This is part of the makeup of why little Wino is very spoiled. Little Wino was also one of the first kids to be infatuated with the gangster lifestyle. Yeah, with the gang lifestyle. At a very young age, when we was all very young, little Wino always had his eye on the gangsters, on the gang members, on the tough guys. Yeah, he always had an eye on them. He always kind of leaned that way. See, little Wino, he had a fetish, a yearning, a drawing to want to be down with the gangsters, the gang members. This is the end of episode 2. Curb Servers, the tales of Little Wino. Episode 3 coming up soon. Get ready. Get your popcorn out.